Well, and welcome to Let's Talk SEO. Day 3 of the APAC kicked up as scheduled. It was pretty uneventful, but there was some serious stuff that was discussed during the event. So stop what you're doing seriously. Forget everything you think you know about SEO because we're gonna spend some time talking about the APAC and what was discussed at the APAC. Not because it's gonna change your perception of what SEO is, but it's gonna change how you probably do SEO in 2025. And also, if you're new to SEO, they'll probably save you from getting into a lot of the bad habits that old SEOs like me have and kind of get you into what actually works. Now, it's important to say here that the APAC event is something that it is practically called Google APAC. So they're not going to reveal actual algorithms. They're not going to tell you how to rank. That's not going to be part of the APAC event. And if you watch my previous day 1 and day 2 recap videos, you know that it's more of a technical look at the Google algorithm, and it's not actually going to tell you what the algorithm is about. You see a lot of videos about alt text and stuff. All of that does not really matter. I'll go into what the Googlers were telling us are not exactly something that works. And I think it makes sense, especially now with AI and LLMs, that there's a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily need to do in order to rank your website because Google already knows a lot of the stuff. So the first thing I would discuss that Google does not just know your keywords, it reads your mind. It learns from mistakes and it's not afraid to completely change the game. In 2023 alone, they ran over 800,000 search quality tests and made over 4,700 changes. That's a new change every 2 hours. And today, I'm breaking down one of the most important revelations for 2025. You won't find this information anywhere else. First thing that was discussed, the first presentation we got was from a Googler, and it talked about the AI-powered brain of Google query understanding. So this has been kind of a controversial topic. Your different versions of this from different SEOs. These things have been tested, but this is Google's version of what they're saying about AI and search. So let's start with the first pillar, making sense of what you're actually asking for. When you type in a query, Google doesn't just read the word; it understands it. So in other words, but if you type in, for instance, it understands it. So in languages like Chinese or Japanese, there are no spaces. So Google has to use machine learning based on past searches and documents to figure out where the word ends and the next one begins. This process is called segmentation. It's critical to figuring out what the content is all about and also to deliver the highest quality results because if Google doesn't understand what the page is about, it cannot really help it rank. And so with a lot of languages like Chinese, for instance, there's no way to add spaces that Google would understand. So it's not like English. And if you watch my previous videos, Google understands English the best and all the other languages, they're kind of lagging behind him. So the way Google works around this is it removes so-called stop words like a, the, or, is, unless those words are part of a specific meaningful phrase or entity. For example, The Lord of the Rings, which is the name of a movie and a series of books. In that case, those stop words are essential to the context and are kept in the query. They're also an entity, by the way. And so, which is why it is as it is as an entity, it exists in Google database. For instance, you have the word car hire, and then Google associates car hire with car rental, also rent a car. So there, it kind of goes through the list of synonyms. But in my experience, this doesn't work very well even today. As well, if you don't have car hire in your text and you're trying to target car hire, it's gonna be a little harder. But the real secret sauce here is the contextual synonyms. They aren't your basic thesaurus words. Google learns that people searching for car hire often click on pages that say rental car. It creates this sibling relationship to ensure you get the most relevant results even if the exact words don't match. This is a game changer. It means you don't just target one keyword, you have to understand the entire ecosystem of related queries, something and somewhere the topical map comes in. This is really why you need a topical map so badly. I'm going to plug my topical mapping service, which is available at cloudseodubai.com. This is Google's mind at work. It's not just a robot. reading text. It's an AI trying to guess what you want. And even when you're not entirely sure of yourself, this is a key to dominating search in 2025. Something that the Googlers alluded to during the third day of the event. Next presentation was the new rules of quality. So the EEAT, the Quality Raters Guidelines. And this is, again, one of those controversial topics you'll hear a lot of the SEOs talk about. The problem is Google doesn't tell us the whole story. It just gives us fragments, and based on those fragments, we need to figure out exactly what's going on. So for years, SEOs have been obsessed with EAT, but at this conference, Google's Alphen Ho gave a clear explanation that shifts the entire focus. He reiterated that quality isn't just one signal; it's 5 signals. Now, this is something you probably never heard anywhere else. And those 5 signals are they're they're makes sense, and we kind of knew them, but we didn't have them in this format. So no one presented us 5 signals to each. All right, so now we know the 5 signals to each. So the first one is people first content made for humans, not for robots. Expertise, your knowledge, content and quality. How good is the stuff that you made? Then it's the presentation and production. It is easy to read, well designed, and free of errors. Content. Avoid search engine first content. Don't stuff keywords or write for the algorithm. But here's the most critical takeaway. Google confirmed that each is the new standard, and out of all the letters, trust is the most important. So you can have all the EEAs, but if you don't have trust, which is T, something which I talk about building in one of my previous videos, then you're gonna have a hard time establishing the EEA part of the EAT. Also, what was emphasized was that trust is important, even if your website had nothing to do with health or finance or money or whatever. Trust is the most important part of your ranking if you want to rank up any industry, even if you're just an e-commerce store. So the things you need to make sure of is that, are your facts correct? Is your content supported by evidence? Is it consistent with expert consensus? A food blogger's recipe must work. A DIY site's instructions can lead to a broken chair. If you want to rank, you have to build trust from the ground up. And this is something that Google still hasn't is not really great at. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. Rank sites with a lot of bad information. Google still hasn't really refined this, but this is the future. This is if you want to like rank in the long term. This is what you would want to have to do to build trust. And Google's quality raters guidelines are your secret weapon. They don't directly influence rankings, but they are a window into Google's mind. They show you exactly what Google thinks in good content, think is good content. The 4 main pillars of quality is those guidelines are effort, originality, talent, skill, and accuracy. Every time the guideline changes, it is a signal for what Google cares most about. And right now, they care most about is content that shows verifiable first-hand experience and doesn't just rehash what's already out there. Something because they want to teach they want to train the AI algorithm the fresh content. So this is what they're promoting. At the end of the day, again, if your content is just not going to show up in Google search, you're not going to get any traffic, and AI is just going to regurgitate your content and suck up all your traffic. There's no real motivation doing any of this. I think Google already knows that. We've secretly also discussed this with one of the Googlers, and they said that Google is aware of this issue, and it's something that they are working on in-house. So we will see some dramatic changes probably in the next year or so. Section 3 or the third presentation is decoding Google's updates and why those updates actually happen. So we all panic when there is a Google update, but the conference clarified that these updates aren't just random acts of algorithmic cruelty. There are 3 clear reasons that these happen. So the first reason for the update, reason number 1 is new content formats. Remember when short form videos exploded? Google had to create new filters and features to show that the content in search. These updates happen to support new features and the new ways that people consume content and new information. So that's reason number 1. So the reason number 2 is improving content breadth and relevance. This is what we call the core updates. And this is what SEOs fear the most. They don't just target specific sites, they target all sites. They're about improving how Google ranks content across the entire web. If you get hit, it's not a penalty. Google says there is no recovery in the traditional sense. Their advice is to look at your content, look at your competitors, who did better, figure out why they did better, and kind of rejig your content so that you can overtake them and improve your site. It's a signal to do better, not a punishment for doing something wrong. That is what they want to tell people, but in actuality, it's a little more than that. Something I'll discuss in a future video. Reason number 3 is combating low quality content and spam. Gain this update, like the latest June 30th core update, hit a lot of spammy websites and it hit them really hard. Even the website that didn't consider themselves spammy. And here's the reason: these are targeted updates. This is where Google finds a vulnerability and closes the door on spammers. The door, if you get hit by one of these, you have to find the specific spam they've mentioned in their blog and remove it immediately. This is the only time recovery is a real thing. And I also must emphasize that you have a window within which you need to fix this. The window is usually around 4 to 6 months. If you don't fix this within 4 to 6 months or in time for the next core update, recovering your site is going to become impossible. Then there was the myth busting section where they busted some myths associated with structured data. Now, you hear a lot of myths about structured data. I've been talking about structured data for a while. And while it is important to rank your site in terms of visibility, getting more visibility on the SERP, it's not considered to be a direct ranking factor, if that makes any sense. So we've been told that structured data is the key to rich results, but Google's Dan Taylor put some persistent myths to bed. So myth number 1 I already covered, which is structured data is a ranking factor. Nope. Google confirmed it, and adding schema will not help you rank or magically boost your rankings. It's an indirect factor at best. I would say it is an indirect factor that you should use because it gives you more visibility on the SERP. It can make your listing more attractive per se, which can then lead to more clicks, and that added engagement will help you rank over time. So more clicks equals more relevance equals to more trust equals to ranking higher. So use structured data. Myth number 2, adding structured data guarantees rich results. The host of this, which was Dan, he said, not a chance. The algorithm decide when and where to display rich results. They'll only show them if they think it's helpful for the user. You can add the code, but you have no control over the final output. So I see people having like 4 or 5 structured data segments on one page. It's not going to really help you because Google is going to choose which segment to show. The myth number 3 is you need structured data for rich results. Harder than you think. It can often infer information like your site name or your breadcrumbs from your page content and show rich results on its own, even without the code. So even if you don't have the code, but Google thinks that, you know what, people will find this helpful if it's presented in a certain format in the SERP. Google will go ahead and do that. So myth number 4 it's a one and done task. No way. Your structured data needs to be accurate. This is something that was emphasized by Don, who works at Google, by the way. The structured data needs to be accurate and error-free. It requires ongoing maintenance. If it's broken, you won't be eligible for those enhanced features. And I can tell you, Google risk text results, or they don't necessarily break, but you wouldn't want to make sure that you're up to date with the most latest code. That's something requires the ongoing maintenance. So in conclusion, what's your game plan? So what should be your game plan in 2025? It's simple, but it's not easy. Google's messaging is loud and clear. Stop chasing keywords, start chasing query intent, understand the siblings, focus on trust above everything else. Your content's accuracy and reliability are non-negotiable. Don't fear core updates. See them as feedback for your content, and then you can use that to improve your content to see who's ranking above you. So it's not just about the code. And if you're going to use structured data wisely. It's a tool to improve your rankings over time, to improve your visibility, but it's not a cheat code to help rank your website. So hope you guys found the video useful. Like and subscribe as always, leave a comment below, and then see you guys in the next video.